Andrew here
There
versus
we go.
Coach Greg Adams, aka the Free Agent Lifestyle. We're going to talk about today, is marriage worth it for men in the West? So let's get into some opening statements. Who wants to start off?
Yeah, man, marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community of America. Most of the better communities that have safety, good children, good schools are typically centered around marriage. However, marriage has not progressed to the point where men could be safe legally, and a lot of men have experienced tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result, and it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws are not positioned to benefit both people in a divorce. Therefore, you have no fault divorce. You have opportunities for women to use the courts against men. And as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for a positive marriage. So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them, and they were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on divorce, 100%.
Stream over.
And
But you agree.
But it's a good thing that the topic isn't on divorce, it's on marriage. And it seems like you agree with my proposition then. And the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution.
Yep.
And that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that's not actually what you're saying. You're not saying men can't be safe in marriage. They can. You're saying that they may not be safe in divorce. So I have a counter proposition for you. My counter proposition is, what if it's the case that you can use religious marriage institutions without the state? And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. That's what always kept them together anyway, before the state was ever involved. So what if instead we use the ecclesiastical church, the structure of the old churches, that would be Catholicism and Orthodoxy, where you see the...
Okay, so I am going to have a different position than Andrew on this. I grew up, then I just have to go off of my experience, okay? And I grew up in a pretty Catholic area. I have cousins that were really, really Catholic. And I do not see that as a deterrent to terrible marriages and divorce. I mean, even if I look at like my grandmother and her friends, I'm not trying to talk trash on them, but I don't really, like, I remember when I was a kid, and spending time with my grandma and her friends. And I remember thinking that they sounded like 18-year-olds. And I'm just not sure. I think they had more children, but I'm really not even under the impression that that generation was very different. I think they just had more kids because they kind of had to. I mean, my grandma, like, they lived on a farm. So, yeah.
the lowest divorce rates because the community puts pressure on the women to act right. That's what they do. Right now, the state applies no pressure on women to act right? You can just go and file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It seems like you're completely pro-marriage. You're just anti-divorce. So why wouldn't you just throw your weight behind institutions where the divorce rate is the least, and you have an ecclesiastical structure which can be appealed to assist with that? That's what makes no sense to me.
My response to that is if we're fifths, we beat all drunk. All right. So that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you explain the analogy for me?
Yeah. Again, I'm trying to be, I want to be respectful because I really respect both of them. So I'm trying to be respectful when I go about this. Again, what they're going to do, and a lot of people try to do, is they want to dictate your reality for you. So they'll say you could go to this church, you could go to these studies, you could go to this, this, and this, and therefore you're going to mitigate the risk on these things. And again, I really do think that the best way to come to conclusions is what you see with your eyes, because you're going to be easily manipulated if anybody can put a study or data in front of you. And they say that's reality, not, a clip on TV. That's your reality, not what you see with your eyes. And again, we could talk about the flaws and the data I think Andrew's going to use. But regardless of that, when you say there's like religious women and religious institutions, I kind of have the privilege of growing up in a pretty Catholic area, and I can tell you it's no different. I was one of 10 kids. I'm from a family that I would say is more on paper traditional than a lot of places. My parents were together 30 years, but when I look with the people I grew up around, I mean, most of the women were nagging, like bitching wives. So, yeah, and I'll go into, I think I'll react to one of my old videos because, do you know what? I'm just not here. I'll keep going.
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
We do have it right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why, because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state, or she filed in a certain state, so therefore the divorce goes on.
No,
absolutely,
okay.
yes.
Well,
Listen, I've been with the divorce attorneys, and what they'll tell you is, hey, listen, you can get married in the ritual, you can get married in the orthodoxy, you can get married off record, but if she files and that woman is hell bent on saying we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare. That's considered a marriage. You also have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish marriage.
How does your way eliminate common law?
I don't have any way to eliminate common law.
So
what
then-
I have is a way for men to avoid
Well, then the
being
argument's
used
silly.
no, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't.
And most men aren't going to want to do like, I would say most men, in my experience, have not had overly positive experiences with religious organizations. So I don't think most men are wanting to be overly religious. Like, what percent of Gen Z even attends church? And I think the challenge is, see, men attend church, let's say weekly. I understand where Andrew's coming from because I used to kind of, that's actually higher than I thought. 46 of Gen Z men report attending church the past week. Oh, good job, Gen Z. What about for context that is higher? It's actually higher than I thought. Here. Andrew's kind of talking about idealistic, like, so he's saying the world would be better. It should be this way. And CGA is talking about what is. And this was kind of a problem when I first got into the red pill. I came from a pretty religious background. So I think I had a lot of those similar talking points, right? And it's kind of goes back to when I used to say women shouldn't vote. Well, it doesn't matter what women should or shouldn't do. Women shouldn't be whores. Well, we are. We do vote. So, like, if you have to make a decision today, you have to make a decision with the information that we do vote. And I kind of go back to like the business example. If you're a business owner and you say, when is this going to get done? Like, when is this religious theocracy going to get done? And the person you're talking to says, well, maybe someday in our lifetime. And you're like, well, okay, well, I have to fire today. I have to, make decisions today. And what you get is the tradcons. Not that I think Andrew's completely in that realm, but they kind of say, well, this is how it should be. And I found in my experience, those are kind of useless conversations. You could argue they maybe move the needle. Like, I think women not voting is more mainstream. Since I did it, you could argue maybe there's repercussions down the line. But that's still a different conversation than like predicting and what is.